What is going on today, my friends? It's good to see you for yet another video. And we know we've got a situation going on right now with Donald Trump apparently deploying the National Guard in LA and potentially the Marines. Now, my friends, I am in a little bit over my head on this topic. I know jack shit about the military. So I am bringing in my good friend, the man, the myth, the legend himself from Sons of Anarchy and Political Drain. We've got Admin Doug. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Chilling, man. It's Sons of Liberty. Sons of
What did I
Anarchy.
say?
Whole
Oh,
other thing.
can you believe I screwed that up? if you
It's
know
all right.
anything, if you know anything about me, Doug, I leave that in when I screw up because it's hilarious. I meant Sons of Liberty, and it's
Good.
funny because every time I think of you guys, I always get Sons of Anarchy in my head for
And
some reason.
I'm sure a lot of people do. It's one of those things, especially with the way that the logo looks and everything. It gives off a definite Sons of Anarchy look.
Yeah, so we might as well get me embarrassing myself out of the way early in the video. That's a fantastic start. So, first thing I want to ask you, Doug, because I have no military experience at all whatsoever, and I was worried about being in over my head and saying things I didn't know about in this video, which is why I wanted to bring you on. Can you tell us first about your military experience, sort of what you were doing there?
Okay, yes. So, uh, well, the reason why they call me drill sergeant is because I was one in the army. So, Political Drain is my channel. Sons of Liberty is the one that I also work with, and on Political Drain, started out being a person with a military background that tried to give context to news and what's going on. Right. So
Mhm.
I joined late '90s. I went to the Army Reserve, did 6 years, came out, and got re-enlisted to become a drill sergeant. So I got my E5. That's when you get the three notches, right? Um,
Mhm.
and 2 years as a drill sergeant in the same place, Fort Jackson. I believe they call it Fort Jackson again. They may have they changed the name and then Hegseth changed it back, I believe. So I don't know. I've
Oh,
never been deployed overseas. I've only been deployed to Fort Bragg. So my position in the military was 73 Charlie. That is paid. I get them the housing. I get wives and children paid and schooling when they're
mm.
deployed. So when I do deploy, I got deployed to Fort Bragg, and they went overseas, and I stayed in the finance department. So um, that's what I did, and I'm proud of that work. But I've never been
Sure.
overseas, so I always have to make sure that people know that. Like I was never deployed overseas, and never been shot at and stuff like that.
Mm.
The most of anything that I've had to do was being a drill sergeant is knowing that I've sent them over there and making sure they're squared away so that they come back the same way they left, and it doesn't always
Sure.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that obviously is equally important. Unless you're Elon Musk, then you may have been considered waste, fraud, and abuse in that situation because he
Indeed,
don't understand what's going on with you guys.
indeed, waste, fraud, and abuse is my middle name as of 2024 November. What is it? What was it? November 5th, 2024.
Right. Yeah.
So
So we've got this situation where the National Guard apparently is deployed against these anti ICE protests going on in LA and potentially the Marines. I'm in
yeah.
over my fucking head on this. I don't know what any of this means. What's your interpretation? We'll start there of what's going on.
Okay, so let's start with National Guard. National
Mm,
Guard, and I'm going to pull up something here that's very important in a second.
sure.
It's called the UCMJ, Universal Code of Military Justice, and we're
Okay.
going to talk about that. So the National Guard is the version of the military that is directed by the states. Okay,
Mm,
it's to be uh, made to be at home. It's for home defense. It's for when you have a flood. It's for when Katrina happens, right? It's for when there is January 6th, right? But unfortunately, it wasn't called by the president.
Mhm.
That's exactly what the National Guard is made for: home insurrections, invasions, and natural disaster. That's the job. Each each National Guard is controlled by the state. So the Georgia National Guard and the Alabama National Guard, California National Guard. These people, their governor is the person who deploys them in their state for the reason that they need to be there. The only
Okay.
reason, that's the first thing. That's what the National Guard is. Uh,
Mhm.
the federal government can deploy National Guard overseas when we need them. We did it. We do it all the time, and the governor signs off on it. It says, "Okay, you need more people. We so happen to have military trained people here. You'll have a National Guard unit go over to Iraq or Afghanistan." It happens in the federal government can deploy, can take over the control of the National Guard in a state if there is an insurrection or a insurrection or you're or an being invaded, right? That's why they always
Mhm.
use this term invasion. It's very important that they use that term all the time, not just because they're racist pricks, but because uh, that allows them to do certain things. In this case, they decided to take over the National Guard of California, the leadership from Gavin Newsom, which is illegal, by the way. I mean, they're already going to go to court for it, but you, they're supposed to be given. It's not something you can just unilaterally do. It's a decision made by the state, right? And a request made
Mhm.
from the federal government. As far as I know, if there's any discrepancy in that, I can still tell you that it's not done unilaterally. However, it's not done by just saying so. Uh, so that was illegal. The only problem with it is you would say, well, why are they doing it? Well, because in the military you're trained to follow orders, and the orders came from Pete Hegseth, our the unfortunate drunken Department of
Mhm.
Justice leader. So when you get the orders from the Department of not Justice, the Department of Defense (DoD),
Mhm.
that's it. The generals, all the way down to the privates, follow those orders because you are a part of the army. So
Okay.
that is the big problem with that. The Marines, on the other hand, you said they might be pulled up, and from what I'm hearing, they are 700 of them are already there, deployed.
Okay.
The Marines, on the other hand, are deployed by the federal government, right?
Sure.
So Donnie Two Dolls himself actually is the commander in chief of all the armed forces, and he can say, "I need them deployed for an invasion or special circumstances where you don't have to go through Congress," and that's what he did. So right now there are 700 of them, and uh, that's according to ABC, all the news places. 700 Marines deployed in Los Angeles right now. So
Okay.
that's what we're dealing with.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed something interesting about that. Today, I believe it was, Donald Trump, of all people, wrap your head around this, referred to the protesters as insurrectionists, which speaks to what you're saying about him using that word to get his way. It's the same way he uses, it's not ketamine, fentanyl, as a way to get his tariffs. And
Exactly.
so it was just was fucking shocking to me that Donald Trump, the insurrectionist himself, has now referred to protesters as insurrectionists. And what you said just made that so much more clear why he used that word.
It's exactly why. People, man, if you don't, if there's nothing else comes out of this shit today, it's the fact that, first of all, he's not smart enough for that. He hasn't
Mm.
read a book since Mein Kampf. Okay, this idiot absolutely did not know that. He's being told that. That's the most important part. When he says insurrection, invasion, these are things that were put in Project 2025 from the beginning. It's written in black and white. In order to get to quell any what they called them pussy hat wearers, or to stop anybody from doing any real protest, which you should be allowed to do thanks to the First Amendment, you have to use those specific words. Only in the case of an insurrection, you can use the Insurrection Act. That allows you to take over these National Guard troops, go through what do you call it, martial law, which hasn't been enacted yet. So don't get that quick twisted. Like, you can have the military there without being in martial law, right? Because there's a standard for it. But yeah, because he says that word insurrection, because they use that word invasion, they've allowed themselves certain workarounds our normal legal processes. And that's exactly why he said it. And I know for a fact he's not smart enough to know that. That lets you know, like, how deep this is and how much these people wanted this. It's not a reaction.
Right. So we just lost your audio.
Hello, can you hear me?
There you are. You're back. You're back. We lost you for a second there.
We'll see how many times that happens before I have to switch something up. But yeah, they wanted this. They couldn't wait.
Okay, fair enough. Boy, there's so much to unpack, and I just wanted to say to my viewers real quick, I'm going to put Political Drain Doug's channel in my normal pinned comment, so make sure you go over there, check that out, because this guy knows his shit, knows what he's talking about. So you had mentioned martial law, which is sort of why I reached out to your team last night to get you on here to talk to me. I mean, are we already in authoritarianism at this point? I think we are. But yeah. As far as martial law goes, do you think we're going to be there, or what do you see happening?
I think inevitably, to get done what they want done, it'll have to be martial law. The problem that they're having is, like most authoritarian and narcissists and Dunning-Kruger specimens, they always think it's easier than it is. They think everything is just easier than it is, right? That's why kings get hung and Anne Boleyn got her head chopped off, because when you're that entitled, you're used to saying things and it getting done. Here's the issue. Martial law, what's happening right now, is a reaction to the little bit that they've done by getting the military there, by having people come in and take people without warrants. All these things are infractions that Americans are used to. And the reaction has been them throwing stones at cars, right? Stopping people, getting belligerent, and defending their city. I think the reaction has been, do you see what's happening? A bubbling of fear from the American people and the media all over, saying, hey, this is crazy, when they thought that they would just be able to do it. When you say martial law, they probably would have said that Sunday if they didn't see the reaction from just the announcement of calling the military, right? Of just the announcement of federalizing the National Guard. Just the announcement of the first step of that was so crazy. Everybody was so upset, and they're getting such a backlash. They would have probably instituted it the minute that they could. So the only thing that's keeping us from that is this constant backlash, a constant outcry from the people, from the news, and quite frankly, the revolting of the people in the streets.
Right.
Like like Star Wars, like Emperor Palpatine. These guys thought that they were just going to crack down and everybody was going to cower away. But the first thing you learn the first thing you're supposed to learn when you become a police officer, and especially when you're doing any type of mission that has to do with citizens and not active combatants, is de-escalation. They completely negated de-escalation. They just said, we're such a badasses, we're gonna go there with masks on and just take them up and rule by force and fear. Evil. Like, they're so stupid. They don't know just the basics. Like, why that doesn't work is because of what happened Sunday. Sunday, because of your overreach, because of your stamping on the neck, when you could have de-escalated situations and probably gotten done what you wanted done if you had just thought about it for 2 seconds and gone through regular means. But because they wanted to force by fear and stamping on necks, now you have people out in the street waiting for a confrontation. Now you have people out in the street throwing rocks off bridges with signs saying, "Come get me." When that's the worst situation, whether you're military or police, you want to be in. That's why you learn de-escalation first. The goal is to get the job done, not to prove how big your dick is. But people like him and people like everybody in this administration know nothing about what they're doing, watch too much TV, and are so entitled that that's how they conducted this. So to answer the question, I think inevitably that will happen. And the only way it doesn't is if there is such a constant outcry and backlash from all facets, from media to people on the street, that it becomes too unpredictable to do it. Because if this is the reaction I get from just starting it, when I actually put it in place and put a curfew in place and have tanks on the street and this and that, then what? Are we looking at Tiananmen Square? Right? Like, how will that look? So a dictator's always worried about how he looks, and where they thought they could do something. That's the only thing holding it back. Eventually, I believe it will come. I hope not, and it doesn't have to. But yes, I think it will inevitably. To get what they want done, they're gonna end up doing that.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that gives me peace of mind, though, is that we are resisting in some form or another and pushing back on them. And you're right. These guys are so goddamn dumb. That's the good news, right? It's good. They're impulsive and they don't think things through, and they do just think they're going to steamroll Americans at this
That's
point.
The best thing we got going for us is their incompetence.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I don't. There's so much to unpack here that I'm kind of forgetting the points as we go. But I think that sort of gives me peace of mind hearing that they're going to do it. And I'll be honest, I don't even know like what the details of martial law are. Like you had mentioned a curfew. I don't know if that means military on the streets everywhere you go. But how do we? We've got, like you said, we're pushing back. They weren't necessarily expecting that. How do we continue to push back in a way that's not going to get us killed or thrown in prison? Or do we do that? Do we just go out like that? I'm not really sure.
People are going to die and people are going to go to prison. This is not a video game. This is not a drill. This is not a test. I say that up front because to think otherwise is to be naive. Any authoritarian regime controlled from the top to the bottom by people who are sycophants and who worship their leader always ends in only one way. Now, how that happens is up to the people. If people just go along to get along, or if people just keep their head down, it happens immediately. It's contrary to what you think. If people, like we saw on Sunday, go out with a fight, it takes a longer time. There's a lot more processes, a lot more thinking to be done. If they think they can roll over you, they will. Take Harvard and the other people, Columbia. Harvard says, no, we're not going to do what you want. And it goes through legal challenges, and they're still doing what they want. Harvard is. Columbia says, yes, we'll do what you want. And immediately they say, now do this, now do that, now do this, now do that. And now Columbia's in a bind and trying to fight out of just getting $1 for themselves because they capitulated. The same thing happens. You have rights as an American. The only way to stop it is to fight. There are people out there who want to fight by protesting. Yes, go. There are people out there who want to fight by becoming what we call a meat shield. They want to put themselves in between the police and the people being harassed. Yes, go for it. There's consequences for that. Period. It shouldn't be, but there will be, more than likely.
Fair.
There are people who are fighting in the shadows, who are trying to infiltrate groups who are already known to be bad. Do it. If that's what you do, get trained and do it. And there are people like us who are the voices, who are showing what's happening, because everything dies. Nothing happens if the media is quiet. It's the most important piece of our Constitution is the free press, because without it, you get Goebbels. Without it, you get Mussolini. Without it, you get Putin. And because our media has been so lackluster, we got Trump. So we have a chance to change it. People are going to get hurt, yes. How much that happens depends on how hard we fight. Literally, there are millions of us, hundreds of millions of us. There are only thousands of them. That's a numbers fact, right? And if we're fighting on all fronts, this thing doesn't go as far as it can, and less people will die than if we don't fight. That's the hard part. As far as martial law simply means that the military become the police. Now, there are a lot of rules that happen that I don't know offhand. We can probably look them up, but curfews are usually one of them. Sanctioned areas that you're not allowed to walk in are usually one of them. You're not allowed to be in. These are all same things that you do when the military is deployed to Afghanistan. There become military zones that you're not allowed to go in. There's curfews that you're not allowed to drive certain places or be out of your home in a certain way. Basically, the tactics that the military uses becomes the police force, and the police are backup to the military, as opposed to right now, National Guard and those 700 Marines that just landed are backup to the police. There's a big difference. Main reason why, I know I'm talking a whole lot, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The main reason why is because the military is a force designed to destroy our enemies. Police is a force designed to serve and protect the people. When the military, designed to destroy enemies, becomes the police, the people become the enemy. Does that make sense?
Fair, yeah.
Everything the military is designed for is to concentrate, contain, and or destroy enemies through covert or overt means. The police are designed supposedly to protect and serve the people. So the military will come, and everything they do, martial law, curfews, dead zones, military zones, surveillance, everything they do is designed to destroy something, to have only for an enemy. And because they're the police, the people are the enemy. That's just how it works, right? So that's how that is.
That's a lot to take in, man. I know I finished my question kind of like laughing a little bit at like, is
Yeah.
this the way it goes? And then you got into it, and then I felt bad for kind of, chuckling a little bit at the end. It's scary times. It really is. And like that's why I'm always joking around in my videos,
Well,
because I don't know how to cope with it. Yeah.
that's okay. The best thing to do, listen, the reason why comedians are heroes is because if you can laugh at these buffoons and you can laugh at the absurdity of it, it takes away their power. So yeah, laugh. It's why I love your channel.
Oh, thank you.
Brother, you've been talking about, if I can, you've been talking about the fall of our economy every day.
Yeah.
And it's not funny. But
Right.
I can take it listening to you talk about it, because when you laugh at, you take away some of that power, man. You take away some of that power. So I understand completely.
That's a fair point, but no, I don't mind you talking a lot at all. This why I brought you in. Educate me and educate my viewers. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because my viewers know I never shut the fuck up. So just sitting here and listening is like, holy shit, man. But no, it's great. You're teaching me a lot. And you had mentioned sort of like independent media. I don't know if I'd classify myself that or not.
Definitely,
it's just kind of
definitely.
Well, I appreciate it, but we do have a certain, I guess, power that what I'm trying to say is we've watched our media over and over lose their power ever since Donald Trump came into office. For me, it started with, Joe Scarborough going down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring before the inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
But we've watched, he's suing 60 Minutes or whatever for emotional distress because they edited Kamala's interview. And he is 100% dissecting the media, and that is where we come in, and we can sort of tell it how it is and hope we don't get shut down by the YouTube gods here in the future. But yeah, we play an important role. You're right.
So you said something. Do you qualify as independent media? Oh yeah, we've changed the word media to mean something other than what it means. Media means a distribution of information. A book is media. Music is media.
Sure.
Okay? Well, what we're doing, because we're published, i.e., other people can see us, and we have a platform, or even if you didn't, you're still media. You're independent because you're owned by the viewers and not by a corporation or a contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that means. So independent book writers, independent media, an independent artist that's not signed to a label is independent media. And you are independent media. What we choose to say or talk about is up to us. But knowing that makes you independent media should kind of, everybody else out there who doesn't know that, who thinks that this is just a hobby, you are independent media. Unless somebody is paying you through a corporation or a license. That means you're independent. So if you're used to just taking pictures of food and that's it, maybe it's time to add a little bit more, because you are independent media. And the only reason why we are big right now, my friend, Enemy from Within, which is absolutely perfect, is because our media, conglomerate corporate media, has been taken over by big money for a long time. And they were normalizing things that's not normal, sane washing shit that's not sane. And the result is where we are now.
Yeah.
Completely. He can't dismantle the media. They dismantled themselves.
100%.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing he could do that could stop them, especially in a digital age. Like, he doesn't even own the airwaves anymore. It used to be the government owned the airwaves, right? When you had just TV before cable. Before CNN, every single news media had to follow something called the fairness doctrine, where they could only, if they were caught not telling the truth or not giving equal time to both sides and all this type of stuff, they could get shut down. Their airwaves would get shut down because it's like the highway. It's owned by the government, right? And it's a luxury. So if you're not if you're driving too fast, they can stop you on the highway. Well, if you're lying and not giving fairness in your coverage, they could shut you down.
Right.
Now they can't. And they got rid of the fairness doctrine before we had the internet. Fox News did that. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But
no, that's an interesting point, because that speaks to how long this has been happening, because I believe that the fairness doctrine was eliminated under Ronald Reagan, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you see, I'm learning as I go, baby. You guys teach me a lot. Like in the comment section, I hear all kinds of shit and I go, oh, damn, I better go look that up. And that's the thing that I get told pretty often. And when you think about stuff like that, you realize how long, at least 40 years, that and I don't want to sound like a simp for the Democrats. For right now, the Democrats are the better choice of the two. But you realize how long the Republican Party has been trying to control information. Destroy education, and all of this has led up to where we are now. I talked in a recent video. A video that did really well is how rural America is just brainwashed by right-wing media, because there was a time that's all you had. AM radio, Rush Limbaugh eventually, and Fox News specifically targeted rural America. So it was just kind of a side note, but this has been going on for at least 40 years that they've been trying to control the narrative with this stuff.
Oh, for sure. So Nixon's media advisor was Rupert Murdoch. No, was the other guy.
I could Google
Ailes. Roger Ailes.
Okay.
Roger Ailes said, and Nixon said, hey, you know what? I wish we had our own media so that we could just have the people know what we want them to know. And they won't have to hear about me, stealing from Watergate and making up laws and this whole executive theory that started there. Power theory. Now, Roger Ailes finds Rupert Murdoch from Australia, and they say to themselves, let's fulfill that. Let's just make sure that we can tell the people whatever we want, and they don't ever have to hear anything else. And as long as we make sure that they're scared of black people and women are just getting way too uppity, we know we can always have them. And so they went to Reagan and bought the death of the fairness doctrine. In came, what's his name? The fat fuck who died from too much Adderall. Rush Limbaugh.
Rush, yeah.
Yeah. In came Rush Limbaugh and AM radio, Fox News right after that. So you're 100% right. It's been planned. And the poor people in rural areas did what all humans do. They go to the place that makes them feel right and good about their bigotry and their ideas. And that's where they found themselves. And the biggest trick that was played on America was Fox News telling every person who watches them that everyone else is lying to you. Just don't trust anyone but us. And anybody who says that, run. I don't care if it's church. I don't care if it's your mom or your dad. Anybody who tells you, don't trust anybody except me, you know immediately, red flags. And that's what they've been doing for 40 years. And this mass of idiots and I don't know what to call them, crayon chewers that we have is a direct result of that on purpose dumbing down of America, thanks to Fox News and the AM radio hosts who came after.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we will get back to this this military thing in just a few minutes, but I think there's some valid points in there. It's why I felt so strongly about starting my channel. You don't see a trucker on the left very often, you know, and I got sick of seeing what was going on. And I said, I got to speak up. Well, what I was doing was waiting for someone like me to speak up. And I went, you know what? I'm a lot like me. I should go ahead and do that, you know.
I'm so glad you did, man.
Yeah, it's
So
been
I know you
quite a
also
ride.
had, I know you had other channels too. Like you started a few channels, and
So.
then you switched over. Was it just like the conviction that made you switch over, or was it like I'm tired of the other stuff?
Well, this channel started to take off, so I abandoned my trucking channel, left them a sweet little goodbye video, and said, "Hey, I got other things I need to focus on." But there was a lot leading up to it, but there was a certain straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. I put out a video. My other channel was like trucking vlogs, life of a trucker on the road, right?
Yeah.
And my dog had died when I was on the road. It was tragic. She was a good dog, man. We had her for years, and I had put out that video like, oh, this is fucking tragic, right? And a lot of my viewers knew that I was not a Trump supporter, but that's about all they knew about me. And somebody commented on the sad video about my dog. They said, yeah, but how about that Trump win? It was right after he won the election, with a whole bunch of laughing emojis after it. And that's when I went, you know what? I'm just going to do this channel because these guys are fucking bullies. And my thought process was, if it was good enough for John Wick, it's good enough for me, baby. You're going to go after my dog, you know?
Yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
it was one comment that I went, you know what? I'm fucking doing it, because I was terrified to do this channel. You wouldn't believe the amount of threats that come in on a daily basis because I'm a trucker.
I do. Yeah.
Well, you know. But that's sort of what caused me to finally just go all in and start doing this channel. And then the first few videos, no one watched, 0 views. And it was like that third, fourth video. I kind of judoed the situation a little bit. I told all my trucking viewers about this channel, knowing they were going to hate it. And because they came to watch, it started everything rolling in the algorithm.
Yeah.
And away we go.
We got to be tricky on YouTube sometimes.
Yeah, my very first viewers were hate viewers. That's for damn sure.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that's how that went. But I want to come back to all this stuff. There was also, I think his name's Homan, the bald ice guy, Tom Homan, I think he is. And Donald Trump had also today had suggested arresting Gavin Newsom because of his resistance to this. Now, in my head, the alarm bells are going off. Right. Actually, let me ask you something real quick before that I meant to get to. We can come back to that. What is it in the military? I don't know if it's your oath necessarily, but something about not obeying a lawful order. And is what Donald Trump doing a lawful order or not?
Okay. That's exactly why I pulled up the UCMJ.
We got off that, yeah.
Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's long. I can't possibly read it all. I can tell you one thing. When you join the military, at least when you join the Army, and I can speak more than likely for the Marine Corps and the Air Force and the Navy as well. I don't know about Space Force. That's invented after I got out, but I assume them. When you, from basic training until a pine box, you are reminded constantly of the uniform code of military justice, and in there are things like, here, I'm just going to read a couple. Let's see. Things like what can get you court-martialed, who can convene a court-martial. I'm trying to find some. I can't remember. Once I find it, I'll show it. But the idea of not following unlawful laws or orders is in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Not abusing prisoners, Uniform Code of Military Justice. Not waging war on citizens, Uniform Code of Military Justice. Improper punitive actions, which includes, shooting someone or hurting someone or arresting someone, apprehension and restraint. These are all have to be followed in a very strict code, and everybody who, whatever area you're in, you're told about them all the time. I don't know if it's illegal to arrest a sitting governor. I know that they arrested the mayor over there in Newark. I know they arrested two Congress people already, or two people in Congress already. Not necessarily Congress people, but like their interns or whatever it was. I know that they've arrested a judge already. And the way that our law is set up is that there's certain things that don't exist until you do them.
Right.
If a person from the military does this without cause, you're damn right it's illegal. Remember your oath. Remember the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. If anyone out there is a soldier, is a seaman, is an airman, is a Marine, anyone out there, you hear those four letters and immediately you kind of stiffen up because you're told about them so much. The police, on the other hand, I can't tell you. And unfortunately in our country, when you do something that nobody ever thought you would have to do, that you would do or have the balls to do, so they never wrote it in the Constitution. The only way to decide whether it's legal or not is after court, not before.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's kind of where we're at with
Yep.
Donald Trump as president. Is he's been pushing the boundary, not necessarily pushing the boundaries, going well beyond the boundaries for a lot of years, and then the courts go, "What the fuck do we even do with this? How do we ever handle this?" So, with that said, we don't know if this is lawful or unlawful until it goes to court, things like that. Do you expect that? I don't know necessarily what high-ranking officials in the military are, generals, maybe something like that. Do you expect there might be some out there that would resist these orders or say no? And there's got to be some patriots left, right?
Yes. Unfortunately, the military is very right-leaning. Even though it's the most socialist organization in America. But it's very right leaning as far as the people in it. But the generals and the people in charge are usually very, very smart. These people go through, a lot of schooling. They read a lot of books. They are all at least 50 times more intelligent than anybody in Trump's cabinet. And they know that that's wrong. The problem is they don't have to be the ones to arrest him because Trump has deputized, tobacco chewing, absolute racist Neanderthals to become ICE agents or given them the power to arrest and take people. I don't think that we're looking at the military being the one to arrest Gavin Newsom if that's what he wanted. So I don't think that they would do it. I also don't think that he would ask them. I think Hegseth would mention it, get a feel of the room, and realize that it's going nowhere fast, and then he just get his newly deputized goons or police officers, especially in LA, who love that shit, to do it. So that's my answer. I don't think the generals will do that. What they will do is probably right up until that, though, because following orders is kind of what it is, and it'll have to cross that line, actually physically, literally cross that line before the generals who know that what's wrong will actually stand up. And I find that to be abhorrent. I don't know why it has to be that way. They're all too smart for this. But the other side of that is a military coup. and they're all too smart for that too. So I think they're between a rock and a hard place. Once you disobey the order of the commander in chief, you're looking at a military coup, right? So
Right.
that's one of the main reasons why they've been timid and tepid, and they understand what's at stake with them. It's not just like, oh, I'm not following an order. Just that saying that becomes something that you may not be able to stop or control.
Mm. Mm. Damn it. I would like to say that made me feel better, but it did not at
It
all. At
it
all.
does not. It does not.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to believe. I hear what you say that it's a mostly right leaning organization, the military. I 100% hear that. I would love to think that there's people out there in the military that even if they did vote for Trump and if they're on that side of the political spectrum, they would understand right from wrong and make a call on that. But I hear your point about once you disobey the commander in chief, you got a whole shit show on your hands at that point, huh?
Yeah, consequences.
Yeah.
That's I don't besmirch them for not doing anything yet.
Hmm.
I do wish that they did though. Like I understand why not, but I mean, I think the main problem with any organization, including one, especially ones like the military, where discipline is uh, in demand and necessary,
Mhm.
is you end up relying on those tenets and those practices a minute later than you should,
Mhm.
and you get Germany,
Ah,
right?
goddamn. Yeah.
So, you know, I think now is the time. Like it's here, but I have a feeling they're going to wait until martial law is called, until regular white Becky on the street is picked up, and not just the illegal aliens, until a family gets, hurt with an actual M16 or a tank before they speak up. And by that time, it's not too late, but I think they could have stopped it beforehand. And
Right.
I think they're going to wait until that time to do it. And that's going to be unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay.
We're there. Like, we're
Yeah.
there, guys. Like, this is it. This is it. We're here. I cannot stress it enough. It's not tomorrow. It's not yesterday. We're here.
We're here.
This
We're
is
here.
it. We're
Yeah.
here. All right. Well, that's all I can
Yeah.
say.
No, that's why I wanted to bring you on because I knew you weren't going to bullshit me and tell me what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
It would be nice if you said nicer things, but I mean, you got to tell us the truth, of course, about what's
Yeah.
going on. But oh God, I know I have more questions, but that's just so much to fucking process because I 100% believe you. Shit,
So,
what else did I want to cover? What else do you
while,
want to cover?
well, no, while you're thinking about it, I mean, I can go on forever about this stuff. So while you're thinking about the next question, you you've been talking a lot about the going around in what was it? I don't remember the name of the state. Missouri.
Misery, misery, yeah.
Missouri. And seeing less of the signs, less of the red
Mhm.
hats,
Yeah.
less of the flags. That is a really, really good sign, of course. The reason why we're seeing the amping up of all of this is because every dictator, not only because they're narcissists, which they all have to be in order to be one, uh, but because the way that the empire works, the way an empire works is that the projection of agreement,
Mhm.
the projection of agreement. For instance, when they did that test where they put like 10 people in a room and they all said which line is longer, and five of the 10 people were, paid to say the shorter line was the longest one. The other 5 or the other 4 out of the other 5, just to not be apart from the group and thought that maybe they were wrong, maybe they were just crazy, said the shorter one was longer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's how humans work. It's how dictatorships work. Every one of those signs communicates and reinforces the idea that I'm not allowed to not to be against Trump. Mm-hmm. Every one of them that comes down reinforces the idea that maybe it's time to change. So I'm here to tell you, while you're thinking of a question, the number one thing I can tell you people is, if there's ever been a thought in your mind that maybe, just maybe, there's something else I could say, or something else I could post, or one other person I could talk to, or one more rant I could do, but nobody will listen to me because I'm not the enemy from within. That dude's hilarious, and so I guarantee you, every one of those things is the fight that we need. So when I say we're here, it doesn't mean go pick up an AR, whatever, and I don't want you to get taken down, and go, straight up harass somebody, a cop on the street. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, if you know that the stakes are high, if you know we're already here, and there's no doubt that this is where it's heading, so that means it's impossible to put your head down. It's impossible to not be affected by it. Your school, your kid, your job, your friends, your car dealership, your restaurant, your grass, your road, your prisons, your lights, the stoplights, the stop signs, your metal worker, your tires, everything is right now will be affected by it, or is affected by it. So only because you haven't felt it, you may think that it's not that time yet. But I guarantee you, if your house was on fire, you would yell. Even if when it's not on fire and someone said, I'm going to set it on fire, you may not yell because you don't know if they're really going to do it, and you're not really a yeller. The house is on fire.
Fair.
Now. Whatever you thought you couldn't do, rethink it. Say one more. Stay up one more minute. Watch one more. Give $1 more to the enemy from within. Find one more group that you can go to. One more thing. If you can't go to the protest, find out who's going, so you can babysit one more kid for them. Find out what's happening at your garage. Find out what's happening at the grocery store. Buy one more piece of fresh fruit from the farmer. It's now. It's here. It's here. Like now. And if you took one more video of your kid playing basketball, turn the camera around and say, don't forget, this is why I love America, because of my kid playing basketball. I really hope that we don't lose it, and then turn it off. I promise you, that's enough. That's the fight. That's the fight. It's on fire. That's the fight. That's it.
That was powerful, man. Powerful. And I got a few, not counterpoints, but points to make to that. You said to my viewers, I'm not the enemy from within. I want to remind everyone, I was not the enemy from within 6 months ago. I had no idea this channel even fucking existed, and I thought nobody was going to listen to what I had to say. I ain't got the largest channel out there, but we are going. We're reaching a lot of fucking people over here. And the reason I bring that up isn't to toot my own horn and talk about how cool my channel is. It's because I, not that long ago, was the guy that I thought no one was going to listen to. Like I told you, my first viewers were hate viewers. They were running me into the fucking ground, and I just kept kicking out the videos. I said, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to keep doing this, But the other point you made about the people in the room all agreeing that the shortest line was the longest line.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I saw happen with Donald Trump in rural America. I don't know where you're from, but I'm from the country, right? And you would have asked us 10 years ago what we thought of Donald Trump out in the country. We hated that son of a bitch. We ain't got no time for some spoiled rich kid from New York to tell us about our lifestyle or any shit like that. We did not like him, right?
Yep.
And all it took, because I was working in the oil field then, right? Hauling water. I worked with a crew of like 20 guys. All it took at that job was the biggest, dumbest motherfucker on the crew to start believing Donald Trump's bullshit. Once he said, I support Donald Trump, if anybody would argue with him, he'd get in their face. He'd start yelling at them until on down the line, every person in that crew was now a Donald Trump supporter by the time we were done, except
Wow.
me. And you
Wow.
just watched it. And that's why I don't know if you've ever heard me make the point in my videos that MAGA is ruled by bullying, basically. If
Yeah.
you can just bully the shit out of a guy till he goes, fuck yeah, I support Donald Trump. And that's why so many people are afraid to speak up, because they're going to be ridiculed, would be the best thing to happen to them, but bullied, harassed, threatened on down the fucking line if you get out of line with Donald Trump. So I saw the same thing happen through rural America, and it didn't make any fucking sense. We don't like that son of a bitch at all. But
How
here
could
we
you?
are.
He's a pussy ass bitch. He paints his fucking face. The guy wears orange makeup every day.
Yeah.
If you saw someone walk down the street with orange makeup on and couldn't even blend it right. I mean, literally, there's a white back and an orange front. You would laugh and you would go, "Who is this dumbass?" If you
Yeah.
saw the guy who wore a gold Doug sign all over my arm and 10,000 gold chains, you say either he's a rapper and it's for entertainment, or what is wrong with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And so I know people from the country who live normal lives, who work every day, and who don't have golden fucking toilets.
Right. None of us do.
I mean, I know that they would normally think he's crazy, but he tapped into that one original sin that America has never faced up to, therefore can't get over. Every other country has found a way to get over it by reconciliation programs, by restoration programs, by I mean, the Jews, they literally gave them a country.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Here, we're just going to put you back where you think you belong, and forget the people who are already there." That's a whole other thing. But that's how they got there. After 1940, I think it was 1948, was Israel. It didn't exist because they realized that they had to get something. They had to get acknowledged for the Holocaust that they received. America has yet to just have everyone agree that racism is systemic, that there is problems in communities because of a past. And until and because of that disconnect, because it's easier to follow a orange painted pussy grabbing fuckface narcissist cult leader than to believe that the reason why you think a black person is less than you is simply because of a system that made it that way. It's easier to do that. They chose that when normally they never would have. Never.
Right. Right.
That's the
Yeah,
answer.
no, it is the answer. I mean, and there's no way around it. I hear it a lot in the comments. Well, maybe if you guys would stop calling us racist, we wouldn't do that. Racist fucking hate being called racist. Drives them nuts. Fucking, they hate that shit. But you got to go back to his very first speech when he came down the escalator, was about how Mexico wasn't sending their best. They're sending their rapists, their murderers, their drug dealers. That was his pitch to America about who he is. And they ate that shit up. Is what happened.
They ate it up. They ate it. I mean, even I gotta admit, I was duped into thinking that there's no possible way he could make it. And to be honest, here comes the idea of the presentation of agreement. His first few speeches, he literally bought people to be in the crowd. They were all actors, right? It was all actors. And if he filled up rooms with actors and gave them signs, paid them, maybe. And because of the look, because of that idea that there's agreement here, other people said, well, wait a minute. So nobody will look at me strange if I say I really like the way he speaks. I know that I know he speaks on a third grade level. It just so happens to be so do I.
So do I.
I know he doesn't know anything about politics. It just so happens neither do I. I've never watched the news. I've never ever. Matter of fact, every time those politicians talk to me, I have to act like I agree and nod with them because my pastor told me this is the right one to vote for. I never really understood what they were talking about. I didn't know what NAFTA was. I'm not sure, except for the fact that I need to wear, a safety belt, what the laws really are. Like, I've never thought about it, and I don't want to. But neither does he. Yeah, it's okay to like him. They like him. I'm not going to be looked at crazy now. And that's what they're living on. This is literally what's driving it. And that's why it's so important that the people take down those signs and stop wearing the hat. And it's so important for you to say that one extra word on your phone or turn the camera around after taking a picture of your food to say that thing, because that also works the opposite way. It also works the other way. There's a certain group of people that will never change, but there's a middle ground out there that are waiting for it to be okay where they are. Or waiting for the example of the cousin that they know who said that. Or even going to start an argument hoping that you'll beat them in it. Subconsciously. Right?
Yeah.
It's it works both ways. And he came in and just found that sweet spot that America hadn't fixed yet. That what's his name? David Reich. I forgot his name. He people who predicted this since the 80s was coming, right? Once you have the division in wealth and the only thing keeping people up is this ideology of I'm better because I'm entitled because of my skin color or because I go to this church or whatever it is, it's the easiest thing to exploit. History has done it over and over again, and we just so happen to have the dumbest buffoon to be in the right place at the right time, and all of the smart people behind him who are really smart and evil picked up on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's you mentioned that I think your point was that a lot of MAGA doesn't really understand politics. They don't have a firm grasp on how our government works, and that's why they're fucking oblivious to the fact that we're in a constitutional crisis, which is a term that gets thrown around way too much right now. But I don't know if it's too much, but
it's not too much now.
Yeah, it starts to feel like it loses meaning, but it does need to be said, is what I meant to say. Like, I didn't really mean too much, but it seems like we're using it a lot. But that's the point of that is, because I did misspeak there. The point is they don't understand how government works, and that's why they think that the things that Donald Trump is doing is perfectly normal. When we say, well, we're gonna just round up all the Mexicans, and they go, hell yeah, they cheer for it and say, hey, this is a good thing, without realizing there's due process. I mean, they're opposed to due process, apparently.
Right.
When Donald Trump signed the executive order to get rid of birthright citizenship, Doug, how is it that you're a citizen in America?
So I'm a citizen through naturalization.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, then
so
I was I just made an assumption there. I'm a citizen by birth. I'm as white as it gets. I'm pale as shit. All right.
Yeah.
So what these guys don't realize when they're cheering for Donald Trump to get rid of birthright citizenship, that doesn't mean just the brown people you don't like. That's me too. That's you too. That's my neighbor. So yeah, I had just made the assumption, well, Doug's got to be born here too, but through naturalization, fair enough. But most Americans are American by birth, while they cheer for their citizenship to go away through executive order. Isn't that fucking nuts to think about? Isn't that crazy?
I mean, it goes back to the entitlement.
No.
It doesn't matter what it is. And that's when Martin Luther King and many other philosophers have said equal to the same thing. Injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere,
Mm.
because being a naturalized citizen, I was born in Jamaica, came here, became a
Mm.
citizen at 18 through the process of citizenship, and joined the military as well. I was a citizen before I joined the military. Um, the 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 same thing can be said about barbecue sauce lovers, right? It
Mm.
it doesn't really matter. The choice in Germany was, well, if you're a Jew, you can self-deport. It had nothing to do with citizenship.
Mm. Mm.
Mussolini, if you are um, of the bourgeoisie, you're going to die or get deported. It had nothing to do with the 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 reasoning for it is arbitrary. This time, it just happens to be citizenship. What we need to
Mm.
be aware of is anytime, anyone, anywhere can be thrown out, done injustice to for any reason. It's only a matter of time until it's you.
Right.
So yeah, you might think that birthright citizenship means something else. The truth is, you're okay with someone else getting it happen to them because you thought it would never be you, and
Yeah.
and then the leopards come. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and how many times have we seen that already in this administration? I mean, I covered a video recently about a guy that was running a shoe business. He was a Trump supporter, and he
yeah.
was importing shoes, and now he's all up in arms because he can't afford the tariffs. And we're talking about fucking shoes here, notoriously not made in America. And this
Right.
guy knew about tariffs, still voted for it, thought it wouldn't happen to him for some fucking reason. And
What's funny
over and
is,
over.
what's funnier is that guy is a congressman. I think he's a state rep in his.
Yeah, he's in politics. Yeah, yeah.
He's a politician in his state. So you can't even use the excuse I didn't know what terrorist meant. Or if you can't, if that's the case, we've been fucked up. Like you didn't know. You didn't know he was willing to cut off his nose to spite his face. He had a temporary insanity because he saw he was drooling at the idea of more power. That this guy was going to come in and allow him to have more power, and
Right,
didn't even think about his shoe company.
right. Just fucking absurd. And we've seen it over and over this time. We'll probably wrap it up here soon, Doug. Do you have anything more you want to add to this military in LA thing? I mean, do you think by morning we could be in a full scale crisis, or what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, expect it anytime. The problem with the reason I'll go back to de-escalation. Uh, my military training, every police officer supposed training, and history itself teaches us that the reason why we use de-escalation and escalating tactics are shunned is because what inevitably comes out the other side is an enemy or a populace or a group that becomes so rabid and looking for violence that they find it. So wanting to buck the system, so offended at their rights being taken away, at you know that they will go out and look for it. So it doesn't even. I think that uh, uh, the unfortunate part was the beginning when he said, now that there's Marines there and now they federalized the National Guard, it's a domino effect. So it could happen tomorrow, could happen next week. It could happen in another state first because somebody smart wants to try it, like they do in
Mhm.
North Carolina all the time, where they just
Mhm.
test out the most gross and disgusting and the degraded things. Uh, but it will happen. and it's a likelihood that it will be tomorrow. So likely it's 50 having a baby is 50-50 every time. So it's not like, well, because I had two girls means I'm more likely to have a boy. No, it's 50-50 every time, right?
Mm.
It's as likely to happen tomorrow as it is next week. But I am unfortunately convinced that the martial law portion of it will happen. If we fight back hard enough, if we make it too hard for them to do, if it's too obvious, if reporters keep getting shot, like we found out here, LA reporters are shot by cops in LA. This is as of uh, what was that, 6 hours ago, right? It gets harder and harder for them to do. It just becomes this constant stalemate where someone will have to back down, and it won't be the people who were aggressed. Find out by Ukraine, right? Like,
right.
Because you didn't de-escalate it, the inevitable reaction now is, which I'm sure generals and everybody else who understands military process, who understands history, are now preparing for, is, okay, well, now we have no choice. We know this is going to happen. How can we make this happen with the least amount of casualties? So I am 100% sure that they're already preparing for it. That's a guarantee. And they're already trying to figure out how to do it the best way. Whether or not they do it is up to the fight that we have.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, shit, Doug. I think that about covers it for today. But
sorry, I couldn't. Hey, well, on the other hand, protests are happening. Fight is being had, and the fact that the people aren't putting their head down means that we have a longer time than we had yesterday, believe it or not. Right. So keep up the fight. It's not lost. It's just starting. And keep up the independent media, because when corporate media fails, we get Trump. When independent media wins, we get his ass fucking out of here. All right? That's how it works. So if you're dejected because of what I told you today, let it spark something in you to say, I'm gonna do something extra. And if everybody does, it's a guarantee they lose. They lose with the least amount of casualties. They lose in the best way possible. If we wait, it only gets worse. That's the options. That's the facts. That's what I told my 7-year-old son. So it's because when you're in wartime, you can't shield children. They see it. They hear the bombs. So every other time but now, I would have definitely had a more age. I still told him an age-appropriate way, but I would have had a more age-appropriate lesson. Because I know it's now, he understands war's around the corner. And it's important. That's how dedicated I am to this fact. You should be as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, yeah, I don't want to take that as you were giving me bad news or anything. It's the truth. It's what needs to be said. And yeah, it does kind of hit you like a ton of bricks when you're like, fuck, here we are. But hey, we just keep rolling, I guess, and do everything we can to stand in their way. And I mean, I got some plans of my own, I'm part of the supply chain. If I decide I'm just going to stop participating in this, I'm going to go home and, I can contribute in that way. And I can continue to contribute by speaking to rednecks that look like me and say, this is not fucking okay. So I think the important point is, regardless of who you are, say something like Doug is saying, speak up, stand up for yourself, because here we are.
Support independent media and support local organizations. Those where the government starts to crack down and fails, mutual aid support becomes what runs cities, countries, communities, like the NAACP, the 5051, or the protesters, the No Kings movement, the enemy from within, political drain. Wherever you feel you can donate, help, all of that becomes the most important thing when the government has nothing but the only tactic they have is fear. There's no more politics. Politics becomes very local. So there's that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I think, Doug, that was a fantastic conversation. We'll make sure we send people to your channel through the pinned comment, and also Sons of Liberty, not Sons of Anarchy. Can't believe I called it that. But yeah, I'll end this. I'll keep you on here. We'll chat for a few minutes, but I appreciate you coming on, man. That was great information.
Thank you so much, man. I'm honored to be here with you. And ever since I first fell in love with your channel, it's been a privilege to know that we can have this type of relationship. Call me anytime.
Absolutely. All righty, guys. We'll see you for the next video. Love you guys. Bye now.